One, two, one, two. Is this shit on?
Ryan!
What they do, baby?
Hello, friend. How are you?
What's happening?
I'm doing okay, bud.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
What's happening in the land of the copper? One. I guess there's just one.
There's only one. There's only one. I am married, but there's only one. Shit, man. I'm all right. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Shit's good.
You got a fancy new setup today?
A little bit. Trying to,
We'll see if it works.
fuck with me. We grown now.
Hopefully this doesn't sound like hell when you're hearing it.
Hopefully the intent of some new equipment is for this to sound better.
Right. But you know us. We fuck things up.
I'm for sure capable of doing the opposite. So we gonna see.
Oh boy, what are you sipping there, bruv?
I'm drinking a little gin and lemonade.
Okay.
A little summertime bev.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's fucking hotter than balls outside today.
I will say it's technically a gin and tonic and lemonade, but what I didn't know when I poured the tonic in my beverage is that it was flat, which makes flat tonic water
yucky.
just water. So it's mostly just a gin and lemonade at that point.
Tonic water is not just water, though. You mean soda?
No, I mean there's quinine and shit in there. Like there's other flavors. I just mean it does not have one of its most intended purposes, which is bubbles.
Sure. Just put the whole drink into the soda stream real quick.
Ooh, I like it. We don't have a soda stream, man. Every time you guys use yours, I'm like, that looks pretty cool, man.
Yeah, you're missing out, dude.
What's the craziest thing you've soda streamed? Did you ever just get drunk and do something absolutely crazy with the soda stream?
So the thing is, there's a lot of pressure when you're doing it, right?
Literally and figuratively.
Well, I just meant literally. I don't know what the figuratively would be.
What if you fuck up your beverage, what if your beverage is terrible? That's a lot of pressure.
Whoa, I'm nervous.
What if I make a shit soda?
I meant literally in the air pressure sense.
Sure.
And they strongly encourage you to only put water in there.
Oh.
And then also, because if you don't, then you got to clean the little nozzle, and it's sort of impossible because it's like hollow on the inside because air has to come out of it.
Oh, sure. Well, have you ever tried
water
this soda?
is both the most and least crazy thing I've carbonated.
That's such a bummer, dude, because I feel like if I had one of those...
Sorry, I didn't want to ruin my kind of expensive thing.
Yes, because if I had a soda stream, I would absolutely be like, oh, we are going to soda stream Coca-Cola and see how soda-y we can make it.
First of all, it would explode, and your face and your kitchen would be covered in Coca-Cola and also like shrapnel.
Well, it's probably a good thing I haven't bought one of these then.
Yeah, maybe this is not for you. This may be a purchase for others.
Toys that involve pressurized gas are probably not toys for me.
Nope. Anyway.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. It's a piping hot day here. We're, doing the dang thing. Back at it again.
Golf. I played some golf at 12:30 today, and it was extremely unpleasant.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a mistake.
Well, yes. But, I mean, it was still fun, but it was very warm.
I feel like
I lost about 10 pounds.
I'm sure you maybe literally almost did. We used to have Can Spencer Dunk from a fan who made the website, and it was just a yes or no until...
Well, and it was no until the domain expired.
Yes, which is...
It was a very depressing website.
Yeah, but God bless it for existing for as long as it did. I feel like somebody needs to make Can Spencer Golf, and we just need to track your golf handicap for the next year, and we have to set some sort of arbitrary
I was going to say, is there a goal?
That's what I mean. I feel like we say you can golf once you hit a handicap of a certain number.
Let's see. What do you think overall the average golf score is?
Well,
you think that's a number we could find?
It's probably not average score. It's probably done by handicap. How many additional strokes.
Same thing.
Yeah. Well, sort of.
whatever, 82 or a 10 handicap. I mean, we can do some quick maths.
Sure. I bet you it's the average is. I wonder if there's just a for anybody, any age.
That's yeah. Golf Week says, although the equipment is found that on a given day, the average golfer would be expected to post a score of approximately 100 when following all rules in regard to penalty strokes. So like no mulligans and actually counting penalties and shit.
Right. But that seems way high.
Yeah, I can do that now. Or I mean, I can do better than that now.
I'm going to come golfing with you, but I'm just going to wear a Sasquatch costume and just hide in the bushes.
So not with me. You're going to go.
I'll be near you, but you won't know when I'm near you. And I'll just be like, whoa, 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 from like over in the bushes and try to spook you guys while you're hitting balls.
So my best score, I've played maybe, I don't know, like 7 or 8 times now.
Yeah.
I think my best score so far is a 92.
Okay.
So
do we give you 10 strokes and say once you hit an 82 or under, then you
tough.
officially golf? Okay, how about 84?
84 or better.
84 or better.
Then I can golf. That is considered being able to golf.
Then you are capable of golf. You know what's funny? Dunking is a very like binary thing. You have either dunked the ball or you have not. Can you golf? Well, no. Can you walk 18 holes and hit a ball with a stick a bunch of times? You can get 1,000 and still have technically
right.
golfed. So
I shot a 300, but I played 18 holes.
You technically golfed.
Yeah, well, because like par is, I mean, if you can shoot par, you're like damn near pro. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I probably have about the same chance of shooting par as I do dunking, honestly.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. We're not going to make you shoot par.
Both are not going to happen.
Both are
essentially impossible. Yeah. All right. Let's call it. Let's say 85. We'll make it a nice round number.
That's not round at all, but I'll give you 85.
Well, okay. I mean, sure.
That's not how rounding works, but I'll give you 85.
Right.
We're rounding to the nearest 5, then it's a round number, I guess.
Well, if we're rounding to the nearest 4, so is 84.
All right. You get 85. If you shoot at 85 or better, KenSpencerGolf.com will turn to a yes. That a website we don't currently own or probably have any real plans of building. But I like that. And if someone wants to do that, we should do that.
I certainly don't.
All right. You're going to have to update us on your ongoing scores then.
All right. Today I shot roughly 100, but wasn't really keeping score because it was hot and I was by myself and I just fucking blasted golf balls until I got to the last hole.
You golfed by yourself today?
Oh yeah, dude, it's lovely. When it's not 1,000,000 degrees, it's really nice. You throw in a podcast, you can play in like half the time.
I was actually just going to say, do you listen to something or do you just...
Yeah. I listened to a podcast and then, it wasn't 2.5 hours long. So then I listened to all of Toxicity by System of a Down on the back 9.
What?
It was really nice.
Okay. First of all, I would have been far too angry at how hot it was outside for listening to System of a Down because that's just like, that's going to send you right over the edge.
Oh, no, it was great.
Second of all, that was the soundtrack. That was your peaceful hot summer day by myself soundtrack for golfing was Toxicity.
Yeah. It's a good album.
Bro, you're something else. You're something else. The thing that probably made golfing better, and I'm guessing is potentially going to be your joy this week if it's not solo golfing while listening to System of a Down. Holy shit, how did having a haircut feel?
Oh, it's so good. I wasn't sure if I had ears anymore, but I do.
They're under there, bud.
They're in there.
They're
They're right where they used to be.
I got ears in there.
Yeah, man.
The ears in there.
I showed up this morning to our friend who cuts both of our hairs, or, used to when that was a thing that people did.
Right.
And she spent like the first minute just staring at me and laughing like in my face for how absurd my hair was.
Bro, I think I've gotten used to it because you had a fro, man. Like that shit was humongous.
Yeah, I hadn't touched it in like 4 months at least. It was either like end of January or first week of February that I last got a haircut.
And I think I knew that your hair curled because one time you showed me like your old ID photo from high school, or maybe it was like the U of M. I can't remember. And I remember being like, whoa, it looks like that, huh? When you let it ride, it looks like that. But then I guess I forgot that your hair curled because I haven't seen it long enough to know that for a long ass time. But yeah, man.
I should have taken a photo, but there was a moment where she had shaved the sides but not touched anything on the top.
Oh,
so I had
you should have left it.
I stopped her for a second to be like, can this work? And she's like, no, it cannot.
Like, could this be kind of hot though?
But yeah, I had like, a 16th or something on the sides and like a foot on the top for a minute, but it didn't last.
The frohawk, if you will.
Oof. Anyway, that did make me quite happy today. Although, like, I've just fucking sweated sunscreen into my eyes instead.
Oh, sure. That'll happen.
Such is life.
Trade-offs.
Yeah. What's your joy? I've listed several things that made me happy today.
Man, Oh, hey, I ate tacos last night. And
okay.
I haven't had tacos.
Did you make them?
What's that?
Did you make them or did you buy them?
I acquired them from a place that is in between.
That's a weird choice of words.
I have secured the taco bag.
It sounds like you found them.
I have secured the taco
maybe
bag.
Bartered for some tacos?
Look, there was a guy.
Someone died and left you some tacos in their will?
There was a guy in the alley and he was like, hey, man. If you punch
I'm about to die. Can I write you into this will real quick? I got this bag of tacos.
No, he was like, if you punch me in the stomach, I'll give you these tacos. And I was like, that's a weird way to get some tacos, man, but I'm hungry.
I feel like I'm really close to dying. One good punch should probably do it.
And then you get all my taco will. No.
You said a place in between my house and yours?
Yeah, but it's not the place that you and I go all the time. It's the other place that you recommended that I go to. That's more authentic.
Is it the one across the street from that one?
Yep.
Oh yeah, they're delicious.
Damn, that was a good taco.
Yeah, man, they're fire.
So I came home and I made my ass a margarita and I ate tacos and that was very dope. And now I'm gonna have a taco problem because those tacos that we are referring to are significantly less expensive than other tacos in the area, and they're maybe twice as delicious. And so I'm like, well, now I'm gonna order these twice a week.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Y'all, go get a taco in your life. Go support a local business with proper social distancing and responsible behaviors. But support a local business and get a taco in your life because, man.
Support yourself by eating more tacos.
Support yourself by having a taco. That you will have a better day.
Ryan, we have a shitload of voicemails.
Oh, dang. We haven't done this in a hot minute.
Would you like to hear some of them or would you like to save them and play a bunch of them on a voicemail episode sometime soon?
Let's do a voicemail episode sometime soon. We kind of promised we were going to do one, and you're right. We have had a shitload of them back up again since we did that last one. What was that, like a month or two ago?
Who knows?
Time's not real.
No idea.
Yeah, okay. I like it. Let's do that. We'll commit to recording one of those in the next few weeks here. And we'll do another voicemail episode. If you want to potentially be part of the voicemail episode and you've never left us a voicemail before, it's 612-246-4614. If you want to shout us a holler, and you can do whatever. You can roast us, you can tell us a story, you can ask us a question, and
Did you say shout us a holler?
Shout me a holler, dog.
Are those not synonyms?
Shout me a holler, dog.
If you'd like to shout us a shout, holler us a holler.
You're the man now, dog.
Horton us a hoot.
Yo, we should get You're the Man Now, dog as a sounder. That would be so great.
Bad boy.
Oh,
Okay.
what up, Bear?
Ryan, I have a hypothetical question for you.
Does it start with the word what?
No. It starts with the word imagine.
Oh, I thought
and
it was.
The rest of it goes,
I thought
imagine an airplane makes an emergency landing and breaks apart. As the cabin fills with smoke, everyone inside realizes we've got to get out of here. What happens? I'm going to give you two options.
Okay.
A, the passengers turn to their neighbors and ask if they're okay. Those needing assistance are helped out of the plane first. People are willing to give their lives even for perfect strangers. Or B, everyone's left to fend for themselves. Panic breaks out. There's lots of pushing and shoving. Children, the elderly, and people with disabilities get trampled. Which do you think happens, A or B?
Oh boy. So this like high key feels like do you believe people are inherently good or inherently bad and selfish?
Well, this is where we're going.
Philosophical question. Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Can I ask a qualifying question about your hypothetical?
Sure.
Is it a hypothetical or is this a real event that happened?
This is hypothetical.
It is an actual hypothetical.
I mean, plane crashes have happened, and I'm sure.
I'm aware.
So, and we're not talking about any specific one right now, though.
Okay. What I was getting at was like, is this an actual incident that occurred that the people who survived documented what happened?
Maybe a better way of asking it is, which do you think is more likely to happen?
Sure. Well, my honest reaction is I think the latter is most likely to happen. I think people, while not necessarily inherently bad, I don't know how I feel about this either, but I guess we'll go there because it seems like we are. but I guess like it seems like to me like in a moment like that where shit is just fully hitting the fan, I feel like human beings would be more likely to revert to like animal instinct, self-preservation, survival mode, like run faster than the slowest person so you don't get eaten type shit.
Sure. So I ask because I want to talk about a book this week by Rutger Bregman. Sorry, I always want to say Bergman. Rutger Bregman.
Yes.
He wrote a book called Humankind, A Hopeful History.
Bro, did you read it?
I'm in the process of reading it. I have not read the whole thing yet.
Okay, so y'all, this is not a joke. Spencer said, I've got one for us. I'm bringing it to the table. And I was like, okay, bet. And did not tell me what it was. So I have that book pre-ordered and it's coming to me nice. Soon. It said, I think it dropped last week, didn't it?
Yeah, I got the Kindle version. So
got it. So mine's like on the way to me right now. But I saw an article that was an extract from the book.
Guardian or somebody ran a chapter of it.
Yeah, I saw
that's
that.
Hilarious that you. Okay, great.
And was fascinated by it. And then, I didn't read the whole thing. I just read enough to be like, this seems really cool. And then realized it was from a book and then ordered the book. And that was the extent of my participation.
So the hypothetical I just asked you is from the intro of that book. And a psych professor at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands asks this question to all of his students every semester. And about 97% say scenario B is more likely, that people fend for themselves and fuck everybody else.
I'm part of the herd, man.
And you actually mentioned another thing that he brings up in this like intro, which is the veneer theory. There's a Dutch dude named Frans de Waal, W-A-A-L.
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory at this point, but go for it.
Well, no, I guess it was like in my head, I was thinking like, does this mean that all of our social decency and all of that is just like a surface level thing that is required of us, but stripped of the construct of society that is just a veneer, and below it, we are all like, savage, like evil people.
I mean, maybe not that strong, but yeah, like,
we don't have self-control or like human decency to others or whatever.
Yeah. That it's not like inherent, that the foundations of society can break down very quickly, and that it's more of like a veneer than a foundation, so to speak. But so this whole book is examples of how that's false, and like why we think that way in spite of an overwhelming amount of evidence that it's not true.
Interesting.
And the first example it gives is the Disaster Research Center at the University of Delaware. They've done 700 field studies of all different types of disasters, natural disasters, economic disasters, whatever.
Yep.
And of course, because we would know about if there had been, there's never been what they call, quote, total mayhem. And in fact, crime usually drops during times of disaster.
Interesting.
And they give the examples of like during World War II, the common thinking was like, yeah, we're going to bomb places because we're going to destroy things and kill people. But mostly if we destroy enough things and have like constant bombing, society will break down and people will panic and there'll be chaos. And so we won't even have to do that much before like there's just chaos and people are essentially hurting themselves.
Right.
And in London, and then with a bunch of other examples, the opposite actually happens. People band together and help each other more. And while London was being bombed by the Germans in World War II, their economy actually went up for a couple months because people were all supporting each other.
Damn. It's interesting. It makes sense to a degree. I mean, from the guy who literally just said that people would fend for themselves a second ago. I guess there is an element, though, of it that makes sense where there's a solidarity factor, right? Like, oh, shit, we're all going through this together. And knowing
We've seen that here in the last month.
What's that?
We've seen that here in the last month.
I was almost already going to bring that up. Like, if it's tough for everybody, then everybody has an ability to make it better for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, like almost an obligation to help make it better for everybody, because if you help someone, you will in turn be able to be on the receiving end of help.
Yeah. They use the example of Hurricane Katrina too, in that like there was actually very little crime and violence in the aftermath of Katrina.
Sure.
And that did happen was instigated by the National Guard.
Wow.
And so it was actually some force from outside of the community that was being affected. And then there was tons of false reporting that then never got like retracted because it's fucking TV news. And if you reported that there were 6 murders and then there weren't, you don't go back and run another news story saying that you fucked up.
Sure. Seems like a hell of a business model. Yeah, we say stuff, and when we're wrong,
I mean, we can have a conversation about how harmful news and especially TV news is, but it ain't great. So he writes, our grim view of humanity is a nocebo. Are you familiar with that concept? The opposite of a placebo?
Placebo is a thing that has a positive impact just by like thinking it, and a nocebo is a thing that has like a negative impact just by thinking or believing it.
Right. So his kind of overall thesis for why people think the way that 97% of us do, that people are generally like selfish and not to be trusted and not helpful. He says, if we believe most people can't be trusted, then that's how we treat each other to everyone's detriment.
Yeah, That makes a lot of sense.
It's sort of self-fulfilling. Like, if we think that other people aren't trustworthy, we're not going to trust them. Therefore, we're not going to benefit from trusting each other.
Right.
And then it reinforces the view that, like, people aren't trustworthy because we're all going around not trusting each other.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I wonder, because like it's an interesting, and maybe he gets into this in the book, but there's an interesting animal instinct part of this where, like, at a certain period of time in human development, there was a period of time where it was both beneficial to trust others and beneficial to not trust others at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
and
he talks about negativity bias and how that's like instinctual in humans, and going back even before like lots of social interaction, it was safer to be fearful of things.
Right.
Just like in general across the board, because he puts it, too much fear won't kill you, but too little can.
Right. And they say in some ways that that's why, or a lot of people say that that's why, in the last, however many generations, we've seen such a huge onslaught of anxiety be a real thing, because for a long time it was important to be that like fearful and anxious and like constantly vigilant, because it benefited you as a person to be that vigilant. And now it seems like it makes a lot more sense that, like, yeah, there's a degree of vigilance that's necessary, but a lot of that is no longer has an outlet.
Excess.
It's like misplaced energy.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it probably always was most of it, like if most of the time you're scared of something, it didn't actually require it or wasn't like deserving of that fear.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on how far back we're talking.
Sure. But even like, even if it was 20% in our early history. Sure. The vast majority of the time still, it's like, you would have been fine.
Right.
But the one time that you're not, you're dead. So it doesn't really matter.
Right. So
if we're talking about,
I'm going to be scared 100% of the time.
Wild beasts and shit. Yeah.
Right.
He also ties that negativity bias to news coverage and how that affects our view of the world and other people, and suggests that there's actually a negative relationship or like an inverse correlation between the news and what they report and reality.
Well,
simply because the news is more likely to cover negative events than positive ones.
Right.
Or even the lack of negative things. Right. You're not going to go out and cover a place where, like, hey, I'm in fucking Delaware and everything's chill today. See you tomorrow at 5.
Thumbs up, gang. Yeah.
Right.
All's quiet on the Western Front.
And then as those negative events get rarer, they actually get covered even more.
Right.
So, for instance, plane crashes are super rare.
Right.
Now.
Right.
They haven't always been, but they are now.
Right.
And because of that, because they're so rare, when one does happen, it's worldwide news.
I read an article once that framed this. If it were common, it wouldn't be newsworthy.
Right.
It's worthy of being on the news because it never happens, or it rarely happens. And so it's like, oh shit, that's news now. But if it's something that happens every day, all day long, it doesn't make the news because it's not like, oh shit,
But even with things that like we know are rare, we vastly overestimate or underestimate how rare they are, because when they do happen, they're blasted out everywhere.
Right.
And especially with negative things, because they get more coverage, because we just naturally are more attuned to or more concerned with negative, fear-inducing things than like, positive / status quo things.
I would love to see a study, and maybe there is one in the book, but I'd love to see a study that just asks people to estimate. Well, people are bad at estimating in general, though. That's true. But like estimate, like, how many murders do you think happen in the United States a year? Like, how many plane crashes do you think happen around the world each year? And have people actually
We'd probably all be way high on all of them.
That would be my guess, except that people are just so bad at estimating in general. People might just be dumb and make dumb choices, but I bet you're right.
Murders happen annually.
Well, here, 6. Let's just do it.
I don't know
quick.
Anybody who got murdered, so a couple, maybe a dozen.
We should just do it quick. I should just pull up a handful of these and be like, how many of these do you think happened last year?
I'm willing to guess if you want to pull up the numbers. We both can if there's a way for you to pull it up without seeing them before guessing.
All right. How many? Let's see.
Do like U.S. crime stats or something.
Okay, I've got U.S. murder and non-negligent manslaughter cases.
Okay.
The most recent year I have
but that's okay.
The most recent year I have is 2018. How many?
And this is total for the country?
Yep, all of the United States.
Whole U.S. for one calendar year.
2018.
Yeah.
Calendar 18.
I'm gonna say
360 million people.
Okay. I'm just thinking like, I'm trying to go like how many per state and then times 50. But then there are states where like probably fucking nobody gets killed in Wyoming because there's nobody there.
Right.
I'm going to say 6,000.
16,214.
Okay. Well, proving our point.
Point wrong. But
okay.
But the flip side
also,
of
like,
that,
I just read this book about how we're wrong about all this shit, so that's probably
right. You're going the other direction. Also, in 1993, it was 24,530. So there's been a decrease over.
There's a good example of what we were just talking about.
Yeah, over the last 30 years, there's been a decrease.
And because of that, murders are going to get more news coverage.
Right.
Because they're becoming more rare.
Right.
Dang. You got any other?
I
was gonna say fun, but this is the opposite of fun.
This is a little dark, I guess.
Plane crashes, although I feel like that's low enough that I could probably guess. Whatever. We can keep it moving.
So how many accidents involving damn, this is
look, we tried to make a point, we made the opposite point, and now we're getting sad, so let's keep going.
yeah I'm like looking at plane crash fatality numbers and I'm like, this isn't doing anything for the fact that I'm already scared of flying.
This is not what we're here for.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, so I want to get to the story that I think you read, the real life Lord of the Flies story.
Okay, but I didn't read it, just for clarity.
Okay. Well, okay, the one that you referenced earlier.
Yes.
Before we do that, we got to talk about BetterHelp real quick.
BetterHelp is awesome. And Spencer, I want to tell you why.
Please, Ryan.
We're all going to therapy in 2020 because A, therapy's awesome. Done it, been there, enjoyed it, excited to go back.
Uh-huh.
And B, because they make it as convenient as humanly possible for you to be able to participate in therapy. And I think for some people, there's a wall between wanting to do it and how to do it. And BetterHelp makes that wall disappear.
Honestly, the hardest part for me was like getting set up when I started going to therapy, not through BetterHelp, was finding a therapist and actually making a first appointment.
Totally.
Which they could not possibly make easier. You can get set up and start talking to a therapist within 24 hours through BetterHelp. Yeah,
totally. And you can message your counselor anytime. You have messaging services. You can do video calls. So it's on your timeline. You don't have to necessarily schedule, hour-long appointments and wait multiple weeks to get a response, like there is through traditional therapy. You don't have to go sit in an uncomfortable waiting room with a bunch of other people and wait to go in and have therapy. BetterHelp takes all that away. If you go to betterhelp.com/whatif, our listeners get 10% off of your first month of BetterHelp. They've got experts with a broad range of expertise to match what you need and what you want to talk about. And if you're dealing with a relationship issue, or, if you want a therapist that specializes in LGBT matters and that's not something that you can necessarily find in your area, BetterHelp is going to match you with people who are best able to help you so that you literally get better help. It's like it's in their name, dude.
So go to betterhelp.com/whatif to get 10% off your first month of therapy.
We're all going to therapy.
Ryan, did you read Lord of the Flies in school?
So, no.
Okay.
Never cover to cover, but I had an English class where we had to read sections of it.
Got you.
So I know the story, but I don't know it. I don't know it.
Were you in like a remedial English class where they only gave you parts of books, or what's the?
They were like, "Look, we know you're not going to be able to finish the big kid books.
What's up with y'all?
Wouldn't that be?
I'm a dumbass.
Wouldn't that be?
Teacher,
What's up with y'all? I'm a dumbass.
It's like if they gave you a class where they don't actually assign the books, they just assign the actual cliff notes.
Right.
They're
right,
like, you can't handle the whole book. You can handle the cliff notes. Okay. That's all we're going to give you.
So speaking of cliff notes, if you're not familiar, the plot of Lord of the Flies is that a bunch of kids get stuck on an island together, and very quickly it devolves into total chaos, and kids die, and there are heads on stakes, and it's just like...
It's like power hierarchy and...
Yeah, it's just a total nightmare within like the first week.
Yes.
And it became a super famous book. It was made into a movie, and it kind of became like the benchmark of this veneer theory that under stressful situations, we will revert to our most animalistic.
Right.
So Bregman obviously doesn't believe that. And so started digging into William Golding, who wrote the book, to figure out like where did the story come from, or like what were dude's motivations for writing this story in this way.
He's like, hey man, you started a real shitty trend.
Yeah, or like, I guess to try and see like, is there more to this? Or are there just like these cultural touch points that we're all familiar enough with,
right,
that we use as like these references or examples, but aren't actually true?
Right.
Or if there was like something underlying that this was based on.
Sure.
Turns out William Golding was a very depressed alcoholic who sympathized with the Nazi Party.
Oh, bummer. Sounds like a bummer.
And once divided his own students into gangs and encouraged them to attack each other.
Whoa!
So he may have been predisposed to a very specific type of narrative that is represented in Lord of the Flies.
What did he say? How old these kids were? What grade was he teaching?
No, I don't know. Hopefully college, I guess, although it's not great no matter what.
He's like, the first rule about freshman year is you don't talk about freshman year. Now beat his ass, Steve.
Okay, first graders. You got this half of the room gets knives. This half of the room gets nunchucks.
Teacher, I need help with my arithmetic. Punch your friend in the face. What?
One punch.
What?
Two punches.
Oh,
anyway,
no.
also
Fight
a quote
Club teacher.
A quote from William Golding that's included in this book is, quote, "I have always understood the Nazi because I am that sort by nature," end quote.
Oh, wow. What? Wow.
Yep. That's the guy who wrote Lord of the Flies.
Oh, this guy's terrible. I hate that we're talking about his book now.
Well, we're done. We were only talking about his book to roast him and say how wrong he was.
Yep.
So Bregman wanted to find like an actual example of the Lord of the Flies premise where kids get, or people even get stuck on some isolated situation and have to fend for themselves. So he found an article from October of 1966 in an Australian paper called The Age. And the title of the article was Sunday Showing for Tongan Castaways. And it was about a group of 6 boys who had been found on a small rocky island south of Tonga, which is a little group of islands in the Pacific. Mm. And they had been rescued after being marooned on the island of Atta for more than a year.
Damn.
And in the article, it listed the name of the guy who found the boys and brought them back to Tonga. His name was Peter Warner, and Bregman decided that he was going to track him down and see if he could get the whole story from him.
Okay, look, all I'm going to say is we have talked about, though, they could have washed up on a different island, and that could have gone a lot differently.
You mean an inhabited one?
Yes. Oh, there was nobody on this island?
No.
Oh, got it.
Uninhabited, tiny little rocky island.
Got it. And they were just like, it's just us.
Yeah, they were the only people there.
I would watch a version of Survivor that isn't people like undercutting each other for pizza parties where they just are and like doing jungle gym fucking activities where they just straight up put 10 people on an island and they're like, we got cameras in the trees and we'll see you in 90 days. We hope it goes good.
It's amazing. For like the 4th time today, you are very, you've done a lot of unintentional foreshadowing today.
Tight. Tell me more.
Well, we'll get there in a minute.
All right.
But the short version is the guy who created Survivor has read Lord of the Flies like a dozen times in his life and was very influenced by it.
I mean, that's sort of what made me think of it was like between marooning people on an island and obviously Survivor is undercutting each other because there's like a singular prize to win. So they're forcing you. Right. But that's what made me go like, well, if there was no like people are like, okay, we're here for the TV show Survivor.
We just have to survive. Yeah.
And it's just straight up like, no, there is no prize. We're just going to film you for 90 days and then you're done.
And reality TV does a bunch of stuff to like force action too, because
totally the only people they cast are people
chill for a day.
Right.
Yeah. I mean that they do their best to create conflict whenever possible. Anyway. So, Bregman found Warner and started getting this story from him. And it started when Peter Warner's from Brisbane, Australia, and was in Tonga in the 60s to ask the king of Tonga if he could trap lobsters in the waters off the coast.
Tight.
The king said no. And so Warner was sailing the 200,000-ish miles back to Brisbane.
That's way too many miles to be on a boat.
Right? One way. And he passed by Atta and saw burned patches of grass on the cliffs, which he thought was weird because he knew it was uninhabited and natural fires don't really happen very often. So he gets closer, and as he's getting closer, he sees a kid run and jump off the cliff that he's looking at and start swimming towards his boat. And this this like naked 16-year-old starts hoofing it through the ocean towards his boat, gets up on the side of the boat and says, "My name is Fatai. There are 6 of us, and we reckon we've been here for 15 months.
Wow. That would be such a trip.
Right?
What year was this again?
66.
Okay.
So the other 5 kids, they were all between, I think 13 and 16 at the time. The kids were.
Yeah.
The other 5 kids all are like right behind him, diving off the cliff, swimming towards the boat.
Hell yeah, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And they explained that they were students at a boarding school in Nuku'alofa, which is the capital of Tonga, or was in 66 at least.
Yeah.
And they took a fishing boat out and got caught in a storm and washed up on this island.
Bro, these guys could still be alive.
Yeah, at least one of them is.
If you're 13 and 66, you are around, probably.
Yeah, at least one of them is. And Bregman found one of them through Warner. So anyway, Warner radios to the Capitol and explains that these kids just climbed on his boat and said they're from a school there. And
would you like your kids back?
Yeah, they call the school, and then Warner gets a call 20 minutes later saying, you found them. These boys have been given up for dead. Funerals have been held. If it's them, it's a miracle.
Whoa, that's such a trip.
Yeah. So Bregman through Warner, and then Mano Tato, who is one of the boys, and some other news sources that they track down, he starts pulling this whole story together. And comes up with this, basically. In June of 65, these 6 dudes who were between 13 and 16 were super bored and hated their boarding school. So they decided to steal a boat and sail to Fiji, which was about 500 miles from where they were.
God, yes. Bless these children.
I mean, it's really stupid. And this is like probably the most likely outcome.
Absolutely. But the boldness of 6 kids being like, fuck you, fuck your school, fuck this shit. I'm going to Fiji and I'm going to drink coconut water for the rest of my life is pretty awesome.
And we don't have a boat, so we're stealing one.
And they didn't even die, bro. I mean, like, come on, they won.
They took a local fisherman's boat and they loaded up 2 sacks of bananas, a few coconuts, and a small gas burner. That's all they brought.
You gonna burn your you gonna heat up your coconuts, bro? What is that?
Catch some fish, maybe.
That's like
water.
when we get to Fiji for.
Well, you can probably fish off the boat. It's a fishing boat.
Well, you can't fish off the boat if you only brought bananas and coconuts.
Well, okay. Sure. Plus whatever is on the boat, I'm assuming.
They're just going to dangle the youngest kid in the water until.
It's raining motherfuckers.
The first night, they were already fucked. They all fell asleep the first night and woke up in the middle of a huge storm, which broke their sail and their rudder. So by the second morning, they were drifting in the Pacific.
Absolutely not. I would like to officially nope the fuck out.
They drifted for 8 days without food or water because all they brought were bananas and coconuts. And they managed.
I'm actually shocked that didn't kill them all.
Well, they managed to catch a few fish, and it rained a couple times, and they collected rainwater. So they had like a couple sips of water and a sixth of a fish each day.
I mean,
yeah,
smart-ish.
On the 8th day, they drifted up to Atta, which is a small, or at least was, uninhabited island, and lived there for roughly 15 months. And by the time Warner showed up, they had made a garden, rain barrels for collecting drinking water and for their garden.
Lit.
They had built a gym with like free weights and shit.
Incredible.
A badminton court.
Incredible.
They were keeping chickens.
What? Yes. God, dude.
And they had a permanent fire that had been burning for over a year. They tended to do a fire 24 hours a day so that they would always have fire.
How did they
kept it going for over a year?
How'd they start it? Did they go like stick and?
Yeah. And then once they got it going, just never let it go out.
Bro, this is like if Castaway and Swiss Family Robinson had a baby Do you ever watch Swiss Family Robinson when you were a kid? That movie rips. No. Oh, that movie's so dope.
It's a movie?
Hell yeah.
I thought it was like a series or no? Am I thinking of something else?
You thinking of Gilligan's Island, my G.
No, I know that one.
It's a little bit of all of the above.
1960 film. Yeah, sure enough. No, I've never seen that. Anyway.
It's tight. They built really cool tree houses, and I wanted to live in one when I was a child.
Huh. Fair enough.
I was like, why not me? Why can't I get shipwrecked and ride an elephant and like have a super cool house in a tree? They for sure had an elephant, bro.
Wow. Swiss Family Robinson was a great investment. Budget of $4 million, and it made 40.
It's pretty good. It's pretty decent. I bet it's made more since.
1,000% return. Okay, so they had they were keeping chickens. They had a permanent fire, and they had developed a system of working in teams of 2 for all of the just like labor that they had to do from day to day. They had developed their own conflict resolution techniques. They prayed together every morning and before they went to bed. And one of the kids made a coconut or a guitar out of a coconut and steel wire that they took from the boat.
I don't know why they left, bro. This is what I've been working my whole life to achieve, is just a little plot with a garden and some chickens and
right. They had it by the time they were 16.
They're crushing it. They could have retired, bro. They could have retired. That's what I'm saying.
They did retire for 15 months. They had some issues, including storms. Their hut got destroyed at one point. One of the kids broke his leg.
Oh, dip.
And they set his leg with like this homemade fucking brace. And then the other 5 kids just did his work for 6 weeks until he could start doing stuff again.
That's crazy.
Right?
That's crazy.
When they got back, so when they got rescued, they all had medical exams and they were all given clean bills of health. So they managed to keep themselves like completely healthy for 15 months.
Damn, dude.
And the kid's leg had even healed like fine.
Damn, son.
Yeah.
These kids get it, bro.
However, when they got back, as always, the police fucked things up and arrested them for stealing the dude's fishing boat and put him in jail.
I mean, I fucking guess. What the fuck? Can we all just be like, hey, bro, sorry about your boat. We'll work it off or some shit?
Well, Warner, the fisherman who found him, just paid the cranky old bastard for his boat and bailed the kids out.
What a badass. That guy rules.
And then hit up a local news station to produce a documentary about them and said, hey, I would like $500 or whatever it took to pay the dude for his boat and the bailing him out, and then y'all can keep the rest.
Wait, is there a documentary about this I can watch?
There is a documentary. You cannot watch it.
Damn.
It was never released, and Bregman watched, like, he found the dude who made it and watched his original footage of it, but there's no like existing
cut
viewable version of it anywhere.
Big trash.
Yeah. Anyway, so the one example we have of this Lord of the Flies scenario was like the exact opposite.
Yeah, right.
These kids built like a fucking hippie commune within the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And were in perfect health and governing themselves.
Yeah. And helped each other out when they were hurt or sick and like survived.
Yeah.
That fucking rips, dude. I love it.
Right?
I love it.
He puts in a couple other like similar but I guess less in-depth examples, and talks about Survivor, but how like that started reality TV as we know it, and the whole like false or like manufactured conflict angle of all that shit.
Well, and also just it being a competition, like the competition for those 6 boys was like, can we not die?
Right. The more of us there are, the better all of our chances are.
Yeah, provided there's enough food around for that to be true. Yes, that's
yeah.
But totally. Like we need
six
each
of
other
us is better than one of us.
Right.
He found a reality show called Kid Nation that tried putting 40 kids together in a ghost town in New Mexico.
What? What?
Which we need to find. I don't know if it ever like actually happened, but holy shit, dude, I need you to Google Kid Nation right now.
Okay, bro, I just want to say before
One season,
I make
13
this Google,
episodes.
Before I make this Google, I want to be very clear. This is obviously a crime. Like,
dude, look at the first fucking picture that comes up.
Kid
and please describe what
Nation.
you see.
No way. All right, y'all. I am looking at the derpiest child I have ever seen in a red mock turtleneck with some oval glasses and like a straw cowboy hat. And he is grinning ear to ear. But I wouldn't be if I was marooned in a ghost town in New Mexico with a bunch of strange kids.
This ran on CBS in 2007 for 13 episodes. I would love to read you the synopsis quickly.
Please do. Because I can't get over this derpy looking kid. He's cracking my whole shit up, man. He looks like such a goof ass.
The whole first episode is on YouTube, by the way.
Oh,
40
boy.
kids ages 8 to 15 spend 40 days without parents in Bonanza City, New Mexico, a ghost town where they try and create a community. They cook their own meals, haul their own water, clean their own outhouses, and even run businesses. 4 peer leaders are elected who pass laws and set bedtimes. No one is voted out at the town meeting that closes each episode, but any kids who have had enough can simply raise their hands and leave.
I just want to go ahead and say I did not read the synopsis, but I did scroll through the Wikipedia page to the very large section entitled Treatment of Children and Broader Legal Implications.
Well, no shit. Why a ghost town? I don't understand. Like, just because they'd be isolated?
I guess.
Oh, boy. It's got a 7 out of 10 on IMDb.
That's actually better than a lot of shows on IMDb.
Yeah, right? So anyway, there was that one. And then he starts talking about the Stanford prison experiment, which we, I think, did a whole episode on, right? At some point, one of the live shows, maybe?
I think
a long time ago. So his take, and he provides a lot of good evidence, is that was essentially a hoax, or that the outcome was determined before they started the experiment. If you're not familiar, the Stanford prison experiment was done at Stanford in the early 70s. Dr. Zimbardo, who was a psychology professor there, had a bunch of students in a fake prison in a basement of one of the psych buildings. And they were they were broken up into teams of guards and prisoners, and sort of left on their own to develop a prison system. It didn't end well. People were being physically and verbally abused. It got out of hand, and they ended it after, I don't know, like... Remember how long it was? Maybe like a week or so.
It was like
10 days.
10 days, I think. I think again though, there's a primary. I mean, maybe he calls this out, but there's a primary difference here, which is that there's a construct of these people are prison workers and these people are prisoners, and you have to live inside of this power dynamic, this construct that we've created for you. Which I think is
It was way more prescribed than that too, though. Like that's the given premise by Zimbardo, but he gets into like, it was, well, I'll just give some examples. he had a meeting, Zimbardo did, with the people who had been selected as guards before they started the experiment.
Yep.
And said, quote, "We can create a sense of frustration. We can create fear in them. We're going to take away their individuality in various ways. They're going to be wearing uniforms, and at no time will anybody call them by name. They will have numbers and be called only by their numbers. In general, what this should create in them is a sense of powerlessness."
Right. They're trying
so
to...
it was never objective.
No. Well, no. And I think like maybe the broader implication here is like, with power dynamics previously explained and understood to you consciously or subconsciously, do you as a human act shittier than you would if those social constructs were not in place and they were just everyone was trying to do together was survive.
But even when this like power dynamic is set, like they still had to instigate the action.
With the Stanford prison experiment?
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Like, yes, I agree. And that was sort of what the premise was supposed to be, is that like, if someone is given power, will it corrupt them, is essentially like the crux of how it's presented.
Sure.
But really the answer to that, even from that flawed experiment, was no. And Zimbardo had to like step in and create it. And like, so he has quotes from one of the guards who said, "I set out with a definite plan in mind to try and force the action, force something to happen so that the researchers would have something to work with. After all, what could they possibly learn from guys sitting around like it was a country club?"
And I think like, you know, regardless of whether or not those things happened, I guess all I'm trying to say is I feel like it's still an inherently different scenario than just like 6 kids washed up on a beach, you know?
No, it absolutely is. And what I'm saying is, even in this scenario where it's set up for one group to have power over the other, people still resist it.
Sure.
There's a quote from another one of the guards in the Stanford prison experiment, who was talking to one of the other guards. So this dude, David Jaffe, actually came up with the idea for this experiment, ran it on his own in his dorm basement with his dorm mates, and then happened to be in one of Zimbardo's classes and said, "Hey, we did this thing. It was interesting. Maybe you should try it." And then Zimbardo did, and took like all the cues from Jaffe.
Damn.
Who had all these like fucked up sadistic rules for it that Zimbardo just allowed them to introduce to his study. And Jaffe was one of the guards in Zimbardo's study.
Huh.
So Jaffe, they have an audio recording of Jaffe telling one of the other guards that he has to be tougher and more forceful with the prisoners.
Got it.
And the other guard says, "I'm sorry, if it was up to me, I wouldn't do anything. I'd just let it cool off."
Got it.
So you have like kids even with all of this, like, "Hey, you're a guard. You should be doing these things. This is your role." And the dude's still like, "No, I don't want to do that."
Yeah. That sounds shitty. I'm not interested. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also have quotes from the one, I forget his name, but the one student who left the Stanford prison experiment early. And it's always pointed to as like, shit got so crazy so fast, and a dude had a mental breakdown on the second day. He said that on the second day, he realized that he wasn't going to be able to do homework while he was there and wanted to leave. He asked to leave and they said no, so he faked a mental breakdown to get out and go do homework.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And is now a PhD psychologist.
That guy
anyway, yeah.
It's interesting because this is totally another one of those instances of like, this experiment has informed people's bias.
Yeah. So
for a really long time.
Because of that, and because like so much has come out about how flawed and like directed by Zimbardo it was, two psychologists, Alexandra Haslam and Stephen Riker, tried to redo it in 2002, and they let the BBC film it. So there's a BBC show that lasted 4 episodes called The Experiment, where they did the same thing, but they didn't give the guards any instructions on how to act. They just said, you guys are guards, you guys are prisoners, here you go.
And it turned into a country club, I bet.
Well, basically, yeah. I'm going to just summarize or read Bregman's summary, because I could only find clips. I couldn't find any of the full episodes available in the U.S. He said, on the first day, one guard said he'd rather be a prisoner. On day 2, the guards and prisoners shared food. On day 4, they made plans to go to the pub together when the show was done. On day 5, they set up a democracy. On day 6, some prisoners escaped only to join the guards for a smoke. On day 7, they took a vote in favor of creating a commune. And they soon ended the experiment, mostly because it was too boring for TV. The final episode consists mostly of footage of men lounging around on a sofa.
That's amazing. They're just like trying to poke people with a stick, like, come on, it's not moving.
Well, yeah, so they didn't do anything to like intervene or create conflict of any kind. And they actually had an independent ethics committee observing the whole thing who had the authority to stop the experiment at any time.
Oh, interesting. And they didn't need it.
Well, they did. They actually did end it like a day or two early. And I can't find out why exactly, because I can't watch these episodes anywhere. So that ethics committee did decide to end it early, but I'm not sure why. And all the summaries I can find are like, it was chill and good and people were happy. So some information is definitely missing there, but
okay.
No one was put into solitary confinement or had mental breakdowns, at least.
Sure. It just seems interesting that if a third-party ethics committee ended the experiment, like that seems like kind of counter to all of the descriptions of it.
Agreed. Right.
Seems like something should have gone bad real quick.
Well, yeah, and I don't know what sort of things were concerning to them either, like
yeah,
maybe it was something relatively minor, or like plus they had gotten the information they needed, or one person wanted out and then the whole experiment would have been cocked, or
right.
Who knows?
Yeah. Huh.
Anyway, I think you'll enjoy the book.
I'm super excited to read it, man. When I saw that article and saw that it was from a book, I was immediately like, oh, this is great. Cause I also think, just generally speaking, like, I don't know that I'm a fully pessimistic person, but I am definitely like on the more pessimistic side of the spectrum. And so I feel like that's why I immediately wanted to read it. Cause I was like, oh, this for sure challenges some of my preconceived notions about people. And I'm interested in that challenge for sure.
I think it's, especially relevant in some ways right now too, with like the conversations around authority and public perception around, all things negative, the way that news reports things negatively. It just like, it obviously was written before COVID and before all of the reaction to George Floyd and other killings and brutality. But it like definitely applies to all of that.
Totally. And also from the community angle too, right? Of like, who's gonna protect us as a group if potentially there are not police.
Yeah. It fits very well into that conversation too, of like, no, look, we can survive as groups, and actually we, more often than not, we flourish
and take care of each other instead of looking to a power dynamic to take care of us. Exactly.
Before we get out here, Ryan, we have a shout out to read this week.
Oh, dip! Bam, 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 bam. Hey, if y'all didn't know, in the store at shop.whatifpodcast.com, if you give us $50, we'll read pretty much anything.
Yes, pretty much. Also, if you're the guy who said you were going to send us your resume and never did to read as a shout out, I mean, I hope you just got a job. That'd be tight. But if you still want us to read your resume, you should email it to us, and we will.
We'll do that.
We'll read it, and
we shall do
find
that.
A job. Where the fuck do I find these, Ryan? Are they in our orders? Let me find this.
It's in the note section.
Oh, here we go. I got it.
Yeah, buddy.
This is from. What was this from? James. This is from James.
G'day, James.
James says, to my darling Heidi Jane, you are still and will always be worth the wait.
Aww.
I wish you a happy birthday from your adoring hubby, and so do the dudes at What If.
Sure
woo,
do.
Woo.
Happy
that woo-woo was in there. Yes, Angel, they just said your name. Happy birthday! With a bunch of A's and exclamation points. I love you so, and no, I still have a what-if-sized crush on you. You're my everything. Heidi's birthday is on June 18th, if you could fit her into...
Okay. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Happy birthday, Heidi. We wish you the happiest of days. We hope you eat cake or whatever makes you happy to eat and drink on your birthday.
All right. Love you guys.
We love
Thanks
y'all.
for hanging out with us.
We appreciate y'all. Thanks for listening.
Week.
Yeah, if you want to leave us a voicemail for that voicemail episode, it's 612-246-4614. Emails are hi@whatifpodcast.com. Check out the shop. We got all kinds of fun shit in there. Mugs and shirts and posters and shout outs. Like the one for Heidi and her birthday. So go check that out too. And if you want double the episodes, you can go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast for only $5 a month and get 2 episodes a week plus access to a back catalog of our show of over 100 episodes. Can you believe
so many?
All that extra shit you get for just $5 a month? It's so
much
inexpensive.
Shit.
You can't afford not to buy it. Love y'all. See you next week.
We ain't down with killing. We down with chilling. Peace.